Hi everyone, this is Gary Wilson and welcome to tonight's live webinar for the Investor Agent Program. And again, as usual, we do have a few people on here who have taken the program on how to buy rentals, and also they're currently in the one on how to buy flips. That's in development right now with a handful of people. So welcome aboard, and I like the variety because it's all related, and it's great to get questions from the different groups and share across the groups. So predominantly, though, this is all going to be mainly investor agents. The subject tonight, though, is very pertinent to people who flip, not just people who flip, but agents who represent people who flip. It also does benefit also those who like to buy rentals. It's just the folks who buy rentals aren't so necessarily interested in the school report. They should be, but for the most part, they're not really as interested as people who flip properties for profit. Okay, so let me do this. I'm going to reduce my panel so I have more of this screen available to me. I'll do a quick double check here. Yep. Okay, so all the questions are caught up. Okay, so here we go. Hopefully everyone has pen or pencil and paper available. Okay, and make sure you take notes. And again, you're going to get this recording tomorrow. And all of you who are on this, because this is a Module 1, everyone should have Module 1 available to them to go over this themselves. Now, quick disclosure, if you notice in Module 1, the material is laid out in the reverse order that I teach it in. That's by design. What I want to do is I give you the building blocks first, then we end up with the school report and work our way backwards, okay, because then it makes a lot more sense. That's how we do it when we go through the module. When I'm in class, I actually do start right here at the training at the school report when I'm in the market centers, excuse me, okay? So here's the report. This is an Excel spreadsheet. It's called the school report, SCHOOL, okay? And depending on where you are, whether you're in Canada or the US, there's different variations of this, but the same basic principle. And what I mean by that is this. This particular example is giving us school district levels. Seneca is a school district, Mars is a school district. And within a school district, you may have one or more high schools, and certainly multiple junior high schools or middle schools, and very many elementary schools, okay? Now, in some parts of the US, because of the way the state education systems are set up, you may only have one high school per county, okay? I'm sorry, one school district per county. And then within that school district, you'll have multiple high schools. So what we tell those folks is, I'm going to give you an example, in Northern Virginia, or all of Virginia, excuse me, but particularly Northern Virginia because of the population density, we suggest the folks in Northern Virginia use the high school code in their MLS system. You can do searches based on the school code, and if you look in your criteria, you'll see there's elementary, middle, or junior, or both, and high school codes, okay? Now, for those of us who are up here, I'm up in Canada again right now. I'm up in London, Ontario, and tomorrow I'll be in Detroit. In Canada, we have them use the area field, not the school code field or school district field, because a lot of times in Canada, that field doesn't even exist, but certainly area exists, okay? So we have them build this report based on area. So if you're around Ottawa, you might pick the 10 areas around you in Ottawa that you like to service, okay, or you think are decent areas that you want to operate in. It doesn't mean they're good areas, but we'll find out how you determine that here in a moment. The bottom line is this category up here, Butler, Hopewell, Mars, Seneca, are all school districts, or in your case, could be an area or a high school code. Within that category, we want to see what's active, and we want to see what's sold, okay? So now we're automatically at two searches. One search is on active, and one search is on sold, and it's based on school district or school code, excuse me, okay, or area code. Now within that broad range, we also want to see the data presented and returned to us in the MLS searches in pricing bands and pricing increments. So I always suggest start off with 100,000 and go up in $50,000 increments until you get to $500,000, and then you do $100,000 increments. Now, if you're in very high-priced areas, like areas around San Francisco, Toronto, Washington, D.C., Boston, Mass., and there's other areas too, obviously, you can start off and just use $100,000 increments. You don't have to do $50,000 increments, because your volume of data is going to be spread out more across the $100,000 bands, more and readily discernible based on these searches than $50,000 bands. You don't need $50,000 bands, in other words, in those areas. So the bottom line is this. I want to be able to see in pricing bands, in this case, again, $50,000 pricing bands, how many properties are currently active in a school district, and how many properties have sold in the last 90 days in a school district. Again, this could be an area in Canada, or it could be a particular school code. Okay, I'm just, for the sake of tonight's discussion, I'm going to always call this a school district code. Okay, so we want to see what's active and what's sold in every price band. Okay, in every school district. That's what we want to see in a school report. Okay, so let me do a quick check here just to make sure everybody understands the format of the school report. All right, so if anybody has any questions at all about the format of the school report and what it actually shows us, please give me a shout out now so we can cover it. And obviously this data is arrived at by doing searches. These searches are on your MLS system. You do these searches on your MLS system. Okay, and the results are used to plug in these individual fields in the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, okay, this is Matt. Where are the school codes in the MLS? So Matt, if you're, there are 404 MLS systems in North America. Most of them are based primarily on about 4 different systems that are tweaked and modified and customized for the 404 districts. Okay, 404 MLS areas. So what you have to do is, Matt, if you're in your MLS system, okay, I'm going to give this to you verbally, and I want you to write this down. If you're in your MLS system and your basic search doesn't give you the ability to search by school code, there's always a field you can use to add. You can add a search field to any search criteria. So you do a drop-down menu. Okay, and I'll see. Let me see if I can do this here. I very rarely ever get into this MLS system, and it's because it uses Internet Explorer. Whenever I use Internet Explorer, it does weird things to my computer. But let me reduce this and see if I can. Okay, I want to find West Penn. Oops. MLS. Let's see what happens. So you guys bear with me for a second. I'm going to bring up a system that at least I used to have access to. We'll find out here in a second. That's going to be no to that. I don't want that to be my default browser. Not sure why it should be giving me the results here in a second. I don't know why the heck it's taking so long. Let's just do this. I don't think it's going to work, but West, how about this? MLexchange.com. Let's see if that gets us, whoops. Sorry guys, I got butterfingers tonight, but we'll have it there in a second. Here we go, it's searching for it. Okay, now I should find it. What the heck is going on here? So let's see, MLexchange.com. I know that's spelled correctly because I've found it before. Yes, that's what I want right there. Okay, almost there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an example of how you find put it in change the civil design Explorer 6 or greater, and I already have that. Not supported. I thought I was an MLX Explorer. I'm pretty sure that I am. Let's go back here. Nope, I just want to close this one. Let's close that. Go here, close that. Okay. Well, let me find out at least who that was that asked that question. That was, let me go back. We got lots of new questions. Hang on one second, guys. That was Matt. Okay, so Matt, what I was going to describe to you is this. If you're in your MLS system, and I apologize for taking a few moments here unsuccessfully to get into one of those systems, you get your basic search criteria. Let's just say this is all your search fields, listing number, address, price, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, garage, so forth and so on. At the bottom, there should always be a field that says additional fields or add field. And we either going to have a drop down or a plus sign. You want to click on that to get the drop down. And then the additional fields, which are all the fields available to you in your MLS, are displayed for you in alphabetical order. And what you want to do is you want to find the one that says school code or school district, okay? And you can select whichever one you want. You can get codes usually at the elementary school level, middle school level, and high school level, and the school district level. And then you select that as a search field, and you fill it in what you want to put in there. You can just say all or select specific names, things like that. But that's how you find that field. Okay, and then you need to save that, by the way. You can't just click on it and put it in there and not save it, because it won't save it if you don't do that. Okay, let's see here. Do you have steps to create the district report? My market center is in Westwood, but I've Worcester, which was 1 hour west of Boston, so I worry even if my market center creates one, it wouldn't be applicable to the area I plan to find investors. And that is Peter. Yeah. What we can do is, if you can get me the contact information of who it is you want to get this report from, I'll be glad to call them, and I'll have one of my market centers send them the Excel spreadsheet, the actual coding of it, and also a sample of our search. It's not going to do them any good because they're likely to have a different MLS system, but they'll be able to see it's really not that complicated. In fact, it's not complicated at all. There's a lot of data, but that's what makes it so valuable, okay? The bottom line is they just need to have somebody dedicated to do this every 90 days. That's all it is. It's a couple hours every 90 days. It's not that time consuming. But when you look at what's available here, I mean, just imagine when you look at this information, you see exactly where you want your agents to spend their money. You don't want your agents spending money over here where nothing's sold and only 2 properties are active. That would be ludicrous. You want your agents spending money over here where there's plenty of activity, plenty of people buying and selling, plenty of properties being listed. There's another hot area up here. Looks like some activity down here. I mean, this is how you determine where you want to spend your money, your marketing dollars. I mean, that's just that to me is just common sense. So, in any case, the report is only the beginning. That we need to get into some more subject matter, because this is just the beginning. What this does is allow you to focus your time and energy and money on a specific area. And the reason we use the school code in most cases, or the school district, or the something related to the schools, is a lot of times when people move into an area, one of the things that they want to find out about is, tell you, I want my children to go to school in a good school district. Okay, and guess what? The sales data bears that out. The sales data tells you where people want to live. I'm pretty sure if I looked up Seneca Valley, this would be a pretty darn good school district. In fact, I know it is, but that's not enough. That's still a pretty big area. We could be talking tens of thousands of families easily, and that's a lot. That's too big of a farm, okay? So we need to move on here to show you how you actually refine this even further. But before I do, let me go back to the panel and look and see, because we had a bunch more questions here. So hang on one second. Let's see, this is Lana. Hi, Lana, how are you? Okay, this report is for sold active of all types of properties, correct? We do not break down into single family, duplex, etc. at this point. Yeah, that's correct. And actually, Lana, I'm glad you brought this up. We actually do create this initially just for single family homes, okay? Because it originally was designed to be used in the residential sector. It wasn't designed to be used for investors. We just realized this is an extremely valuable tool for people who are flipping homes, because let's face it, if let's say you're a flipper and you know that all the people buying properties, all the consumers are working in these price ranges in these school districts, well, that's where I want to go flip a home. So I realized, holy smokes, we need to use this for our flippers, okay? So Lana, the reason I mentioned that is this. In most MLS systems, you can segregate single-family residential from multi-unit residential. 2 to 4 units, that is. Usually when you get to 5 or more units residential, it's considered commercial. So those are typically different segments on your database, different file segments. One segment is on single families, another is on small multi-units, another is commercial, which is 5 units and above, or non-residential. Agricultural, industrial, I forget the vacant land, farming and agriculture. Those are all different categories or different file sectors. So this report originally was designed to only look at single family homes. And the reason is that's what they designed it for, was people buying and selling single family homes. They didn't think about investors. It just turns out it's very good information for people flipping homes. Now, having said that, Lana, people who buy rentals are often not as interested in what's on the school report. They just really don't care because their kids aren't going there. Their renters' kids are, okay? However, the next thing I'm going to show you is very vital, very important to guys who flip homes and those who buy rentals too. So, but let me continue on here to make sure I clear all these questions off before we move forward. Let's see, this is Matthew. Okay, I have county, status, transaction type, style, home type, and ownership as the main categories to search for. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Matthew, if you want to check with your market center tomorrow, if you can go in there tomorrow, you can even call your MLS system support line. Usually there's one in every major city, and tell them that you need to search by school district, and they'll tell you how to find that field. Because in your primary search, you just told me what you have. You've got the basic stuff, county, status, the type, the style, all that kind of the normal stuff you normally get. So there should be a way for you to add fields. The fields already exist. You just need to bring them up and display them so you can make them part of your search criteria. That's all you've got to do here. You just need to know the functionality to see how to do that. So typically someone in your office will know how to do that, but if not, you don't have to go to the office. You can just look up your local board's number. So I'm trying to remember where you are. Let's see, Matthew, where are you from? Actually, tell me where you're from, Matthew. Because you're gonna have a local board, your realtor's board that you pay dues to. Call them, and they'll get you in touch with the right person who's an expert on their MLS system, because they buy the MLS system and then provide it to you, the agent. They don't actually design it; they just buy it from a vendor. That's all they do. Okay. Okay. This is Pat. Hi, Pat. Pat says, how do you handle active listings that say school? See school board for school districts. Do you recommend putting the address in the county school library or county school boundary system to determine? Of course, it's more labor intensive. So let me review this. Hang on one second here. Well, I'm baffled on this one point here, Pat. Everywhere I've been around the country, it's been mandatory that the listing agent identify the school district. Okay, this is in the States. That's not true in Canada. Only in the States. So I'm actually surprised, because I think you're in the States. If you're in Canada, please forgive me for not remembering that. But if it's not a requirement in your board, number one, it's a shocker again. But number two is it doesn't mean you don't have the field. You can still have the field there. Okay. Somebody they have to identify typically either the high school, the local elementary school, the middle school, wherever they are. But typically I've seen the school district. So let's assume that they don't require you to fill in school district. Okay. Usually people can tell based on remarks where you are, because if you're in a good school district, people want to tell you that. Most listing agents want to tell you that. But back to your original question here, I started getting off on a tangent. Look and see what fields you have available in your MLS system first. Let's start there. Let's see if you even have school code either at the district level or the school level. Okay, and do a test. Let's do a test on your MLS system. See how often it's being populated. Okay, because that is ridiculous for an agent to say, see your school board for school districts. I don't understand that at all. Can you imagine being on the scoreboard And you constantly get these phone calls from people, and they're saying, "Yeah, my realtor's system said to call you." That's just crazy. So there's something more to it, Pat. We need to find out what that is. So if you could get some information for me, call me and let me know. And I found it. All that talking, you found it. Okay. So Matthew found it. All right. This is Ken. Hi, Ken. How you doing? Ken says, I don't use school code in our MRIS and Nova, but we do have high school. Yeah. So Ken, if you remember, I actually mentioned this when I was up there, and at the beginning of this call tonight, I mentioned Virginia as being one of the states where it's kind of unique. So particularly in Northern Virginia, I highly recommend you use the high school code and not the school district code. So you definitely can, you want to use the high school code, okay? That's in most places in Virginia, all right? The problem is sometimes the field is blank. If it's sometimes blank, you can't do anything about that. Just let it go. Let's see here. So Matt's in Northern Virginia too. So Matt, then you definitely have. I didn't realize that's where you were, Matt. You definitely have the high school code. Actually, I used to go to high school up there when I went to Fauquier High School, and I know a lot of realtors there, and I've helped them develop different campaigns for property management. So we always use the high school code. Okay. Let's see. So Matt found it too. Emily says not in Maryland. Actually, so Emily, you're actually on the same system as the guys in Northern Virginia. You're on MRIS also, so it's in there. So I'll help you, Emily, if you want to. We'll walk through that together if you need to, one-on-one. Let's see. In Northern Virginia, this is Pat. A lot of agents are concerned if they state the wrong school code. Well, shame on them. I don't know how they could get that wrong. I mean, there's usually tables. There's online tables. Every school district actually publishes that, and most boards actually publish it too. They take it from the school district and publish it on the board's website. I've never seen any place that actually didn't have it, and now. It could be the case up in say, Alberta. There's parts of Quebec that are pretty far out up Mont-Tremblant. Yeah, I can see that happening up in those areas, or out in say the far Midwest, way out in Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota. Those areas, it's going to be a different ballgame out there. Let's see here. This is Emily. Okay. This happens all the time in the Baltimore metro area. Sometimes the field is empty so frequently I have to search by using the layers in the map. Yeah. Now, actually, Emily, I think that's what you were talking about earlier then. So we do see that a lot in inner city areas, because inner city areas are not known for their school districts, the quality of their school districts. It's a shame. I'm not trying to knock them. It's just a fact. In most areas of the country, inner city public schools don't have the best reputation. And so a lot of times what happens is people don't put the information in there. And actually we have systems around North America where you can identify Catholic school systems, okay? And they would do that in the inner cities because typically they're of course they're private, they're paid, and they get better reviews and rankings in the public school systems. So we've actually seen that. So you can call your local parish and see if they have information you can use. So Emily, actually I would do that in Baltimore because you've got a strong Catholic presence there in Baltimore, okay? Emily says, no, I meant the agents don't include the school district in Maryland. Yeah, they look for that to change. That's been something that's been a trend around the country, and not so much in Canada, but definitely around the U.S. And actually, Emily, you just merged, speaking of the word trend, MRIS just merged with the system called Trend, TREND, that now makes the largest MLS system in all of North America, Canada and the U.S. combined. So don't be surprised if you find that field soon to be required. You're not going to be able to, you'll get fined if you don't populate that field. So in any case, back to your point though here, if you don't have school district, you should have, they should be using elementary school or middle school or high school, whichever is closest. And if they don't do that, Emily, then you have to do what we do up here in Canada. We just simply use the area. We just use the MLS area. So you can also do it. We've seen other people do this based on zip code. Okay, you can plug in zip code here instead of school district or area or or the actual high school code. You can use zip code, and that plays in well with the melissadata.com, because then you go to melissadata.com, you've already got your zip codes. You just plug in the zip codes in now to see what carrier routes in the zip codes have the types of property values, the areas with the property values that you need to be searching in with your clients to flip homes. Okay, so let me repeat that because I just gave you a mouthful. If you have to, you can use other fields. This is just based on school district. You can use other fields like area, search area, and also zip code. The reason I like zip code as an alternative is that it plays well into the next screen I'm going to show you, which is melissadata.com, which are the postal carrier routes. And that system is based on zip code. So you plug in your zip code and you get all the carrier routes in the zip code. And those carrier routes give you the average home value. So let me do a quick checker on questions before I move on. But again, remember, you may have to modify this up here. And I would say, Emily, for you, zip code would be a mandatory field because I've never seen a system that zip code is not mandatory. Okay. Let's see here. This is, and Emily's just okay. Thanks, Emily. I appreciate that. Okay. Let's see. Howard County. Now, what's interesting there is I used to live in Howard County. When I was a kid, I went to school in Columbia. And actually, I used to live in Baltimore for that matter. Let's see. So Emily, if I was you, I would use zip code. I would do that. Okay. Let's see. Matthew says, here is a website that I found that allows you to look up high school codes in any state in the U.S. And here it is, guys. So I want you to write this down. Thanks, Matthew. It's http:// okay, typical header there. The first word is admissions, like you're going through admissions into a college, admissions dot Vanderbilt, that's VANDERBILT, admissions.vanderbilt.edu, edu/, okay, /apply, APPLY, /high school code, all spelled out contiguous, .php. So again, you'll get the recording of this tomorrow if you think you missed something there. But it's admissions.vanderbilt.edu /apply /highschoolcode.php. So that can be valuable information. Let's see here. And looks like Alex, if that's you, the name got cut off here. It just says ALE. Sent a message, says data.com. Oh, okay, that's another website then. Okay, the actual symbol of the question mark, data.com. That's another one you guys can use apparently. But again, if the listing agents aren't populating a school district field, you're going to have to go to a field that is required to be populated, like area or zip code. Okay, and again, we have to do that in Canada. We can't do that like you guys can in the States, a school district. And of course, I'm from the States too, so I've done it down there likewise. But never fear. Where there's a will, there's a way. We've done it with a number of different criteria fields. I just call it the school report because that's how we originally discovered it. All right. That was Alexa. Hi, Alexa. Thank you very much. Alexa was asking what data.com you named. I'm not sure what you're talking about. What data.com that I named there? Melissa data. I'm sorry. So Alexa, the system I'm going to show you here next is called Melissa, the female name, Melissa data.com. So let's go ahead and go there, guys. Let me reduce my panel. I'm going to go up to melissadata.com, and you will see the link for that. Okay. Here's your zipcodes.com. That's actually census.gov. Everybody's got that already, census.gov data. And here's zip codes. You can use that if ever you want to. Zipcodes.com is another pretty cool system. It gives you high-level information at the zip code level. I don't use that a lot, but it has come in handy sometimes. And let's see, and this is, Alexa, this is melissadata.com. So this is in your module 1 of your training system. And just in case you haven't seen it for a while, this is the actual link, the URL that I'm displaying here on the screen. So I'll give you guys a second to write that down. And you should actually save that in your address bar as a favorite. Okay, and here's why. So everybody got that? melissadata.com/lookups/cartzip.asp. Okay. Let's see here. Alexa, here's something from Tammy. Hi, Tammy. Which price point on your school report would be good for rentals, flips? So Tammy, excellent question. The data tells you that answer. So let's go back to the school report, and I'm going to help you decipher in this particular example. Okay. Now again, you really can't use this, Tammy, to figure out where to buy rentals as far as pricing goes. Okay. You can use it to determine where to buy rentals as far as where the hot areas are, where people want to live, but typically it lends itself better for people who are flipping. So here's where you want to look for. You want to look for a high number of active, okay, high number of active, and a high number of sold. High number of sold. And more importantly, Tammy, you want to look at the relationship of sold versus active. So I know right here, these three price bands, 150 to 200, 2 to 250, and 3 to 350. If I go back over here, I can see a lot of properties sold 65 versus what was active 28. So in 90 days, 65 homes sold, and yet right now only 28 are active. The next price band, 39 sold, only 15 are active. Next price band, 35 sold, only 13 are active. So there's more than a 2-for-1 ratio here of solds to actives. That means, Tammy, that's a great area. It's as an agent, this is where you want to spend all your time and money and energy in marketing. As a flipper, this is where you want to flip or have your flipping clients flip homes, because there's more activity, more people buying and selling homes. You never want to have your flippers way down here with all these zeros. There's nothing happening down here. Nobody's selling, nobody's buying, everybody's wasting time, at least if you're an investor or an agent, that is. You want to be where there's a lot of activity, okay? A lot of activity here, lots of activity over here, okay? And this is just one page of one example. So what I look for, Tammy, is how many properties, the total number of, and the ratio of sold to active. How fast are they moving? What's the velocity? So I want volume and velocity, and these numbers tell me that. And it's easy to tell because the higher the numbers, the more volume and the more velocity. So you're looking for the highest numbers possible, Tammy, in these charts. That's what you're looking for. So Tammy, give me a quick shout out. I just want to make sure that actually helps answer your question there. And I'll give you a second to type that in. Hang on one second. Okay, great. Tammy says, yes, thanks. And you're very, very welcome. Let's go back up to now melissadata.com. Okay. By the way, this is an example of a good zip code to buy rentals, because look at all the rentals. Okay. Now we'll go back to this in a second, but for now I want to go up to this example here, and let me expand it a little bit for you guys so you can see it more easily. All right. And we're going to postpone that. A little bit more here. Okay. So for Alexa, Tammy, and everyone else on the webinar tonight, I looked at my school report, and in the cases of Emily, that would actually be a zip code report. I would then take the zip code and bring it over here. So in a school district, you have multiple zip codes. If you're using the school report and using your zip code as the main criteria, then that you just take one zip code per pair of columns, bring it over here. Plug it in this system. That's the URL that I gave you about 5 minutes ago. Plug it in. It brings up this panel, and it shows you all the carrier routes. B means PO box. C is for carrier. That means it's the actual route that the postman walks with the mail. I can see how many people actually live in those carrier routes, which is very important. I also see what they make. I see what the average salary is, which is pretty important. But what's really important is the average home value. So if we just determined, Tammy, that we need to be in between 150 and $300,000, okay, on properties to flip. All right, that's the fair market value of a property once it's been remodeled. I can see there's only 3 carrier routes in this zip code that match my pricing criteria: 202,000, 292, and 276. All 3 of these are within that range, $150,000 to $300,000. Okay, so if I'm working with a flipper and I know I need to be 150 and 300,000, I would never take my flippers or give them information on these areas where the average home price is 404. Yeah, they can try it. They can try to flip homes there. I'll give them information if they want to, but the reality is when we look at the school report, 404,000, there might not be a lot of activity there. So that house that this poor person is trying to flip could be sitting on the market for 270 days or longer. And while that's happening, you're not making any money as an agent, okay? So we need to focus on the carrier routes that have home values in the range that we're looking for, 276, 292, and 202. Now, these carrier routes are expandable. And this is what I want you to remember and write down. You click on the carrier route, it expands the carrier route. Now, I can't do that here because this is an actual PDF. But I wonder if I have it saved in my favorites. I'm afraid to split my screen here because I don't want to take a chance on losing you guys. But the bottom line is this: everybody has the URL. The link is right here. Okay, you put it in your address bar. You bring up the panel. You plug in your zip code. You get these tables. You click on these carrier routes for these 3 routes: 202, 292, and 276. It gives you the route numbers over here, by the way. And this system will give you the map of the actual route that the postman takes. It brings it up in map format. And then what you do is you go into, and this is really important, guys. This is what I want you to remember. You then go to your MLS system, go into map view, and draw a polygram, which means you can drag your cursor around and click on different points and make an oblong kind of shape, or a very vertical kind of shape, or a big giant circle, or a square. Anything you can make, any shape you want, because you can connect the dots. I think the limit is like a 50 dot. You can have a 50 dot polygram, which means you can make it any shape you want. And you want to shape your search field on your MLS system to match the carrier route map when it's expanded. So I want to take a quick pause here, make sure everybody grasps what I just described there, because that's very vitally important. So if anybody has any question at all, what I just described here on this melissadata.com and how you use it, please let me know now. Because right now what we're doing is we've now narrowed our search down by price bands within an area, whether it's a MLS area, a zip code, or a school district, or a actual individual school code. We will get the associated zip codes, okay? And if you don't know how to determine those zip codes, if you remember, I kind of breezed through this zipcode.com. Okay, zipcodes.com. You can write that down. Again, you've got it in your material. You can plug in. You can bring up a county, okay, and you can see all the areas in a county, and each one of these is associated with an individual zip code. All right. So if you know you're looking in, I don't know. Let's take the first one, Allison Park. You know, Allison Park probably has a couple elementary schools, maybe a junior high school, maybe a high school. I don't know. But bottom line is you get the zip code associated with that. If you know it's within your school district that you're looking for, you can find a zip code for that area. And then you come back up here, okay, and plug it in melissadata.com. All right, and you get all this map area. Now, this is the panel we were looking at before. So far, so good. Let me just do a quick double check here and make sure, let's see if I have any questions. And so far, I don't. So what I'm going to do is Alexa, Tammy, and everyone else who is interested in rentals or represents investors who buy rentals, the same system, melissadata.com, can help you identify the best areas for looking for rentals. Again, it's based on zip code. Okay, then you come down here, you have all your carrier routes. You now also have all the number of apartments in each carrier route, and these are total rentals. This isn't just big buildings or small buildings or any. They don't care what type of building it is. If it's a rental property, U.S. Postal Service knows it is, and they provide the data for this website. So I know in this carrier route there's 177 rentals, 133 in this one, and 142 in this one. So if I'm taking out a client who's buying rentals, I would never take them to an area where there's no rentals, obviously, or only 7, or only 20, or only 4, because I know I can take them to areas where there's 177, 133, 142. So even though I may lose a few deals here because I only went for the big 3, and a property may come up in here. It turns out it's a good deal, but we're going to miss it because we're not looking there. It's okay, because we've got so much opportunity here in these 3 areas, we don't need to look anywhere else in this particular zip code. And again, I can get the average tenant's salary and the average value of the property that they're living in, okay, which is pretty cool information. The reason it's cool is I now can help my clients by guiding them with this information to buy the right property. So this area that has 142 units, the average salary is 38 grand, average unit value is 119. This area here that has 133 units, the average salary is up a little bit, 42,000, and the property value is way up, 155,000. Jump ahead way up here to the big one, 177. Average salary 33, average unit value, 114. So this has the most units, but it also has the lowest salaries per tenant and the lowest property value. I know a lot of investors that I work with, because we choose to work with seasoned, veteran professional service providers and high wage earning independent contractors. They would rather come down here where there's a higher salary, 42,000 here at the 133 level, 38,000 here where there's 142 units. And I can see the property value here, even though the salary jumped up a wee little bit, the home value didn't go up that much. However, in this carrier route number 57, that has 133 units, turns out their salaries are pretty darn good, and the values of the units are way up there. So if I'm working with investors, I would rather see them buy in this area here. Lots of rentals, decent salaries based on this information. Their tenants make decent money, and the properties are worth more money. The reason I like this is I know from experience I would rather buy these nicer properties and collect more of my rents and have fewer headaches than buying the ones way down here that are low price with people with low salaries, and my properties tend to take a greater beating. I have more evictions, more vacancies, more maintenance and repairs. Down here, not so much. Everything's a lot easier at this level, okay? So in any case, let me do this. Let me go back to the view that shows a good area for flipping homes, and I'll bring my panel back over so I can see what questions I might have, if there's any new ones. So far, we are holding steady. So Tammy, what I just described there, Tammy, let me know if what I just described there helps you understand how you can help your clients who are buying rentals now. Okay, if you could do that, that would be great. And while you're doing that, I'm going to scroll up to the next thing I'm going to show you. Okay, so while Tammy's getting back to me, I'm going to scroll up here. And all this information I'm showing you right here, by the way, this is all off of a local planning commission website. Again, every Tammy says absolutely. Thank you, Tammy. I appreciate that. Every municipality and every county in U.S. and Canada has planning commission websites, and some of them actually have regional planning commissions. Okay, or province level or state level. Okay, depending on where you are. But I've not been to a province yet or a county, whether I'm in Canada or the U.S. or any municipality that didn't have some planning commission website. And here's why this is so important. I'm going to just show you a couple things here, okay? Now I want to give you some ratios, guys, that are going to help you help yourselves a lot and help you help your clients a lot too, to know exactly where to, what types of areas to focus on when you're looking for properties to flip and properties to rent, okay? And you get that on these planning commission websites because you can see how many of the units, rental units and owner-occupied units, there are on a percentage basis. So I can tell in this particular area that I'm looking at here, I think it's called Avalon, the percentage of owner occupants is 55%. In other words, 55% of all the units in this area are lived in by the owners. And so by natural extension or contrast, 44%, almost 45% are lived in by tenants. I know this is a strong rental area, and here's why I know that. I've discovered over all the years of investing and teaching other investors and knowing people like Robin Thompson and Ron LeGrand and all those other guys, when I'm buying rentals and I'm helping my clients buy rentals, I want to be in an area where the number of renters is greater than 1/3 of the total and less than 2/3 of the total. So these two fields are together, 55.4 and 44.6 make up 100%, right? So what I'm telling you is this. If you're flipping homes, this number here, the percentage of owner occupied, should be 2/3 or greater. 66 or whatever it is, 66, 67% or greater. That's owner occupants. That's if you're flipping homes. So again, I'll repeat that. If you're working with flippers or you're flipping yourself, you want to always be in an area that is at least 2/3 owner occupied. Okay? Back to the renters or the people buying rentals. I like to keep the percentage of rentals or be in the ranges of between 1/3 and 2/3 or 33% and 67%. Okay? Now, if you think about it, on the low end, that makes sense because we just told you if you're flipping, you need to be in an area that's greater than 2/3 owner occupied, which means by default, it's less than 1/3 tenant occupied. So it's a great area for flipping if it's greater than 2/3 owner occupied. Maybe not so much a good area for buying rentals, okay, because the pricing is going to make it cost prohibitive at those higher levels, okay? However, on the opposite end of the spectrum, the reason I don't want to see the population of tenants be greater than 2/3 is if there's too many rentals in an area, it could mean it's a lower end area. It could mean lower values, lower rents, more maintenance and repairs, a higher level of uncollected funds. In other words, rents that you got to chase people down to get, and flat out evictions. Okay. Now there are exceptions to that. Let me bring my panel back over because I'm giving you guys a real handful here. The exceptions to the rental rule are this. I will invest in an area that's greater than 2/3 tenant occupied as long as it's near a university system or a hospital system. And there are some other kind of rules there too, but those are the two primary reasons why I would go into an area that's maybe 80% tenant occupied. That's because it's by a good hospital system or a good university system. That's why. Okay, does that make sense what I just gave you guys? Because I want to show you one more thing here before we move on. So if any questions, any comments at all, please let me know now before we move on, because I'm giving you the exact sequence of activities you engage in to know where to go flipping and to know where to go to buy rentals. Okay, you cannot take shortcuts in this business. You're taking a risk if you do it. You're really taking a risk if you take a shortcut. You never want to go to an area just because it looks nice. Okay, you've got to really check out the data when it comes to investors. The data is going to tell you the truth and tell you the story. The data is going to tell you where you should be spending your time, energy, and money, and that of your client. Okay, back to the planning commission websites. These websites are very robust typically. Some of them are kind of sparse. I get it. Like small municipalities often will have a small website. Large municipalities and counties will often have a large planning commission website. In some areas of the country, where I was today in Detroit, and I thought I remembered that they had a regional planning commission, and they do. The Detroit area has a tri-county regional planning commission. So I'm trying to think, Elizabeth, I think you're new in the program up from the Port Huron area. This would be very important for you because you can Google um, Detroit Tri-County Planning Commission, something like that, and you would get something like this. Okay. Now I'm going to use the example of age. But everything you could possibly want to know about your population is available on these websites, and it all comes from the census. It all comes from the census websites. Whether you're in Canada, I think CanStats or Canada Stats, they do in Canada. We do it every 5 years. In the U.S., it's done every 10 years. Okay, but in Canada, we've got only 30 million people versus 300 million for the U.S. So a big difference there. But you can get sex, age, race, religion, um, you know, ethnic background. There's all kinds of stuff here. But what people make in the way of salaries, the size of the households, how many households, how many single people. Let's see what else. You get what is all this? Like people, the percentage of people on disabilities, again, have that receive disability income. Okay. Let's see here. Type of income. All right. You can see where it all comes from, and how many people the population broke down by level of income. Okay. How much money they make. All right. That is some really cool stuff if you're in real estate. I don't care if you're an agent or an investor. This stuff is like, information is so vital, guys. It's actually one of the 3 pillars of success. Of course, the 3 pillars are information. Actually, I'm sorry, education first, plus information second, plus action third is what gives you results. Okay, so you have to have information. You guys, please, please, please promise me you're not going to take shortcuts and bypass all this information. You don't have to be experts at it. You just have to know where it is, okay, and how to understand it. So let's go back here. So let's say Tammy is flipping a home. We just determined based on the school report that she needs to be in an area between $150,000 and $300,000 in her particular school district, or again, it could be zip code, it could be MLS area, whatever that is. We know the price range was between $150,000 and $300,000. Then we went to melissadata.com to look for carrier routes that have properties with that, the average home value in that range, okay? And then we copied that polygram, the map view, and created our own search in our MLS system to match that view, to match that polygram, okay? And yes, you can do it multiple times. You can do it 1 time, 3 times, 5 times. It just depends on how many neighborhoods you want to work with your clients in, or how many neighborhoods that they're looking at themselves. So in any case, the one big example I like to give you guys is the one of age, okay? And the reason is, when you're flipping a home, you always want to try to stick in the medium home price range, give or take 30% up to 50%, depending on what market you're in. Usually around 30%, give or take. So if you determine that you want to flip homes in a medium home price range, kudos to you, because that's where all the activity happens. That's where the bulk of the activity occurs. And that's why people like Realtor.com, everybody always gives you what's the average transaction size in your area. Well, where I was today in Commerce, Michigan, it was 200,000. Okay. So in any case, if you're flipping a home that's a medium price home in a decent school district, the chances are pretty darn good you're going to be selling that flip to a family with small children. Can I get an affirmation of that, or confirmation? Excuse me. I know it's true because I've experienced this myself. But just give me a shout out. Let me know that you understand what I just said there. If you're flipping homes or you're working with people who flip homes, you want to always look to be in the areas where there's a lot of activity, a high volume of properties on the market, a high volume or high frequency of them getting sold. How many days does it take to get sold? Okay. Now that you have that, you probably could determine relatively safely that most people who are buying homes in those areas and those price ranges are going to have families. They are. It's a mathematical certainty. They're going to have children. They want to be in a good school district, and they want to buy a medium price home, 2 to 3 bedrooms or 3 to 4 bedrooms. I got it. So what I can do is I can use this Planning Commission website data and see what the population breakdown is. So I can see how many people are under 5 years old, 5 to 9, 10 to 14. 15 and 19, all the way down the line to over to 85 and over, 85 years and over. And guess what? One of the largest populations in this area happens to be age 50 to 54. So back in 2010, when this census data was created, that group of people was 50 to 54. Well, now those people are about 59 years old, and they're getting ready to retire. And they're the largest segment of the population in this area. By contrast, one of the smaller segments of population happens to be people aged between 10 and 14 years old. Well, now they're 15 to 19. But that's for people who have families who are looking to buy homes. And look at these other numbers. They're all three low. 190, 175, 218, all of them half or less, roughly speaking, than the median price or medium, the age 50 to 54. It has the largest segment of the population. So if you're selling a home to a family with children, are they going to want to live in this neighborhood where the largest segment of the population is getting ready to retire? Absolutely not. They want to be in an area where the largest segment of the population is somewhere between 25 and 45. That's what we've seen. Most people with families want to live in these areas, and I don't blame them because I used to have children too. All right. So the reason I'm telling you this is you can use this information to give one final litmus test to your clients' information that they're using to make their decisions, in which areas that you or they have selected to do searches in. So if you determine you got the right school district, you got the right zip code, you got the right price value range, you got the right carrier routes, you always want to validate those by looking at this census data to see is it the right area for flipping. If it's not, discard that area and go to the next area. That is vitally, vitally important because you need to be making sure your clients have the best information possible and tools to be successful, because when they're successful, you're successful. So let me take a quick check here and look for questions. Hang on one second. Okay, and it looks like we got a new one here. Okay, Matt. Okay, Emily says absolutely. It's usually a family with small children. Absolutely, Emily. I mean, I've flipped homes too, and I can tell you guys, once I figured out this pattern, this model, because I was like everybody else. I'm like, hey, I did good flipping that small house. I want to go flip $1 million house, and I went to flip something I should not have been trying to flip because it literally took 9 months to sell that monster. It was a big, beautiful home. I was proud of it. My money was tied up for quite a long time. I learned to focus on the areas, again, using the school report. Let me just flip back down here, and I'll do a quick review here. I learned to focus on these areas here that had the greatest volume of activity. I use that first, okay? Then I went back here. Sometimes I would use zipcode.com, but I would come here to get the specific neighborhoods that have the houses within the right price range. And then I would go here and validate my information and make sure that, yep, this area's got the right homes in the right price range, the right zip code, the right school district, and they got the right kind of population that I need to be need to have in the areas where I'm flipping homes. So let me do a quick check here on questions, and let's see what we have here so far. Looks like we're caught up so far, and that's good, guys. I can't believe we actually got through that. It took the entire hour, but I think it was well worth it because I was getting a lot of calls on this and a lot of emails, and I do appreciate that, and I love helping people individually, but it became it was a preponderance. It was just basically half the calls I got in the last couple of weeks in emails were related to this subject. It even came up, matter of fact, it came up today driving from Detroit to London, Ontario. I spent an hour on a phone with a new student from Northern Virginia and going over what I just went over with you guys. And ironically, I didn't know that what he was calling about. And I told him at the end, I said, ironically, that's what we're covering tonight. So kudos to you guys for bringing this stuff up. I know it has been a while since we covered it at that level of detail, but the bottom line is this. I know that what we did tonight is it's not the exciting marketing stuff that we've been doing lately, but when you know your numbers, when you know your areas, okay, you can do a much, much better job of helping yourselves make good investments, and more importantly, service your investors, help them make good investments. Believe me, they will love you for it, because you're helping them build wealth and income, and you're doing it using accurate data. You're doing it using education plus information and taking meaningful, effective action. When you do this, guys, by the way, here's the kicker. Everybody wants the marketing techniques, and I get it. I know, I remember, I'm an agent just like you. However, when you understand the areas at this level of detail first, now your marketing campaigns are going to be a lot more productive, because you know where to spend your time, energy, and money marketing. If you're going to go after chiropractors and dentists, now you know what areas to go after them in. Go where they're servicing, go where they're living, whatever you can do to narrow your search down, but only focus on the guys in those areas, okay? The guys with money in the right areas combined means you've got some marketing techniques that you can highly focus and target and get very, very specific and very, very profitable. So I hope a big light bulb just went off in everybody's head right there, because I just explained how you tie together this part A stuff with the part B stuff, which is the marketing. Okay. Okay, let's see here. This is Peter. Hi, Peter. Peter says, thanks. Always a pleasure listening to you. I love the data classes. You're welcome, Peter. I'm glad. And again, it is a little bit of a stretch for me, because I tend to be the visionary builder, creator. Let's just go do it kind of thing. And I really had to work hard to discipline myself to focus on the data to make me a better service provider. And it meant that I was no longer the ready, fire, aim guy. I was a ready, aim, fire guy. And I was a lot more profitable, and so were my clients. Awesome, big wake up. It took me a couple months to figure all this out, but I'm so glad I did, and I'm glad to share it with you guys. So thank you for the kudos. I hope you all have a wonderful night, and I will see you next week. And let's see, next week call is going to be, did I write it down here? Let's see. When is next week's call? Hang on one second, guys. Let me flip to next week, and I'll tell you when it is. You probably already know. It is going to be next Wednesday night. Next Wednesday night, back to the normal time, 7 p.m. And if you have suggestions you'd like us to go over, please email me. Don't wait till the afternoon of the webinar, because I won't have a chance to get to my email perhaps. But if you can email me like the day before, I'll be able to design a particular program next Wednesday night for you guys, specifically for whatever subject you want. Okay, so Matthew's got one last question. What's the best way to present all this info to our investor clients? Would a simple Excel spreadsheet work? Yeah, here, Matthew, you know what I do, honestly, buddy? I give them the school report to start with, and then I let them either send it to them, or I have it give it to them in person if I meet them in person. I have them go over it, because it only takes you a few minutes to look at that report and determine where you want to spend your money. And then I'll call them up and say, hey, I want to show you something else. And then I'll show them melissadata.com and show them what the carrier routes give us. And I tell them, hey, by the way, now I'm going to use this carrier route information to build your MLS searches on my MLS system. Why don't you figure out what the carrier routes are? You call me or email me back, let me know, and I'll build my searches based on the information. And then I'm going to tell them that I'm going to use some census data to validate that these are good areas, but I won't do that until I get some search data coming back, MLS results coming back. We'll go over the results, and I'll use this to go over the results with them. So Matthew, it's really a 3-step process, because you don't want to overwhelm it. I mean, we just spent an hour doing this tonight. Can you imagine doing that with a client? It would be kind of frustrating perhaps. So I would do one step at a time. It may take you 2 or 3 days. But what's going to happen is you're going to bring them onto your side of the game. You're going to bring them into your camp, doing things your way, using good information, good education, and taking proper action, so that they will be successful. Okay, that's the name of the game. So good question, by the way. Okay, awesome. Thanks so much. You are the man. Well, thanks, Matthew. I think you guys are the man and women. I'm simply the servant or the guide. And I'm more than happy to help you guys. By the way, we've gotten a lot of good feedback from you guys lately. We've got greeting cards, emails coming in, and I never really asked for that stuff. But if there's something you're really excited about, please email me. Email Beverly, because we love getting that positive feedback. We were just talking today how wonderful it was to hear from some of you guys. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that we're just available to help. And that really meant a lot to us, because we can give you the information, but the personal service, that's really where the rubber meets the road, and that's where the results come from. So thank you very much, guys. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful night, and we will see you all next week.